How's it going, everyone? I am Walter the Film Hermit, and today we're going to do my long awaited wish list. I didn't do one for 2023, so we're going to do one for 2024. As I always say, if you like my videos, please like, comment, subscribe. Always helps the channel. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the stuff that I put on my 2022 list that actually came out. And then basically we're going to take those off the list and we're going to move on to what I want going forward. I'm going to do this list a little differently because since a lot of the stuff I wanted did come out, I'm going to put some of my honorable mentions on the actual list. I was really thinking it over and I was thinking, is there anything else that I didn't put on the last list that I really desperately want? And I was thinking, not so much, because there's so much more that they haven't done, number one. And number two, there's a lot of like newer movies from like the last 10, 15, 20 years that haven't gotten 4K releases that would be nice, but it's not crucial because they weren't shot on film. They're not going to give us the best 4K experience. I'm more or less, for the most part, looking for films that were from like the 90s, the 80s, or before that are going to be on film and give us the best possible transfers. And there's been a lot of great work going on with Sony, with Arrow Video, with Shout releasing a lot of these films. So we got a lot of stuff, more than I thought we would ever get. So let's go through the list. So one of the big ones I had on my honorable mentions for 2022 was the Frighteners. I was pretty sure that this one was going to come out, and I think I ended up buying this one on eBay because this is a foreign release. I love this box art. There was a couple different choices for the box art, but like this original poster art, I had to have it. I don't remember if the other picture's in here or not, but this release is amazing. It's got, I should do a more in-depth unboxing video on this, but I kind of just want to go through this quickly. There is a poster in here. If I remember correctly, the other box art had this poster. Or something similar to it. Yeah. This is actually one of my favorite Michael J. Fox films from the 1990s. It's directed by Peter Jackson. It's like more of a horror comedy, but it kind of leans more in the horror than you would think. Oh, here it is. This is what the other artwork looks like here. So, yeah, this release is pretty freaking amazing. They did such a great job. It's got all the cuts of the film, but if I remember correctly, we get the director's cut in 4K, but then like the other versions, I think might just be Blu-ray, but this is a German release, so a lot of the writing on here is in German. So, but it was well worth it. I think they have exclusive rights to this film for a few years. So that's one of the reasons why I wasn't going to wait for an American release, because it's going to be a while before there is one, if there ever is one. But yeah, I was really happy to get this. If you haven't picked it up, I would search for it on eBay, see if you can find a copy of it. I'm going to put the name of the company that did this because I don't remember it off the top of my head. But they did a fantastic job. I'll list it here. There you go. And then another big couple ones that came out the end of last year was, I wanted, on my honorable mentions list, I wanted some more Tarantino stuff in 4K. And we got both his first two films, Reservoir Dogs, try not to get the glare from my protective case, and we got Pulp Fiction. There, let me get that a little out of there. So I decided to go Steelbooks on both of these because this Steelbook was actually pretty cool. When you take off the slip cover, the ear comes off, and if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. I was really happy to pick these up. And then another thing on my honorable mentions list was more Spielberg on 4K. And they did do Duel this year, which I haven't had a chance to pick up. I'm going to try to pick it up maybe not the end of the year, sometime beginning of next year. It's his first film that he ever did. It was a TV movie originally, but they put it in movie theaters and they shot more footage so it would qualify for movie theaters. So it was pretty much like kind of his first theatrical release. Some people say it's Sugarland Express because that one was made for theaters and went to theaters. So it all depends on who you talk to. So we got that one this year, hoping we get some more in the following year. So those are my honorable mentions. So when it came to other movies that I put on my top 10 list that came out, Superman was announced and came out in 2023. And I did pick that up. And I remember correctly, I picked up this box set at the very last minute before they sold out. And I get the Steelbooks on this one, and the reason I did the Steelbooks is because I just wanted to spend a lot of money. No, it wasn't because I wanted to spend a lot of money. I got the Steelbooks because the Steelbook box set is beautiful, number one, and two, I knew it was going to sell out, which it did. So these aren't available anymore unless you go on eBay or someone that's scalping them. But the main reason I wanted these is that they have original poster art on here. So that was something I couldn't pass up. I wasn't crazy about the artwork they used on the slipcovers. And lately, slipcovers have been, in some cases, better than steelbooks, but this one was classic, couldn't resist it. This poster, I know people don't love this film, but when I was a kid, I actually won a poster of this, I think for like a mail-in rebate for like toothpaste or something. And it was in my closet like my whole childhood. So I was like, I gotta get a Superman set that actually has this poster on Superman 3, because it's just kind of iconic to when it came out. So in my last video, I talked about the fact that like not all the Chris Reeve Superman films are great. I mostly like the first two, but like 3 and 4 are part of my childhood and I still want to own them. Plus the last two original Batman films aren't great either, but they were all in 4K. Now we have all the Superman, so I am really happy about that. So really glad to have that to my collection. I haven't watched Superman 3 yet. I haven't checked out the transfer. I watched 2 a little while ago and I liked it enough. 4 I'm probably not going to watch because it's Star Trek. It's Superman 4. So the other ones, I accidentally said Star Trek because that's the next thing I wanted to talk about. Is I wanted Star Trek 5 and Star Trek 6 to come out, and they actually did. Let's take a quick look at that. That release was a bit complicated because they came up with this set originally, and it had the first 4 movies. And then they were going to do the next 2 later. And I think I talked about that. I think I did a video on that, honestly, when these came out. It's been so long since I've looked at my videos. I don't remember what videos I did. But they came out with all of them on 4K. And I put them slightly out of reach to kind of make this video a little bit more awkward. But yeah, they came out with the original Star Trek film with the new visual effects that they did about 20 years ago, but they updated them for 4K, which was fantastic. They did all the Next Generation films, but the key thing was they did 5 and 6. So they released those on 4K, and they did all 4 of the TNG films. They did number 7, which is Generations, and number 8, which is First Contact, the best one. And then they did Insurrection and Nemesis. So for me now, my Star Trek collection on 4K is all complete, except for Picard Season 3. Hopefully we'll get that. So then the biggest other thing that came out for Paramount, and I did an extensive video on this too, is we did get The Godfather. It came out March of last year, and I was able actually to see the first film on a Dolby screen that year too, and it looked amazing. So that was like the anniversary for The Godfather, the 50th anniversary last year. So I was really happy to get these on 4K. They look fantastic. So now we're gonna go over my list for what I want for 2024. And it's pretty similar to my 2022 list. There's gonna be one thing that's missing, is because the biggest one on there was my number 2 was The Abyss and True Lies and Aliens. I put them all on the same line because they're all James Cameron. These are getting a release finally March 12th, 2024. So those are coming. We have artwork. I'm gonna do a whole video talking about those. So let's go through 2024. What is on my wish list? What am I looking for that I don't have? What would be a great addition to my collection? So I'm gonna put for number 10, I'm gonna put on Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Now, these movies were on my honorable mention list, but I moved it up on the list because it's been close to 2 years now, and we still haven't gotten it since I made that last video. I don't care if it's Shout Factory, I don't care if it's Warner Brothers or New Line. I think a lot of fans out there really want this franchise. They're doing the Jasons like slowly. They did a Friday the 13th 4K last year, which I still haven't opened and I still haven't watched. I've heard that it doesn't look great, but I'm gonna watch it myself. There's always people out there that hate every 4K transfer that's out there, but I picked it up and I haven't even opened it. But it would be fantastic to have Nightmare on Elm Street on 4K. I'll either do a box set or do separate releases. I know a lot of people are looking to get those. Number 9, I decided to add another Tarantino film, Jackie Brown. I believe that would be his 3rd film after Pulp Fiction. It's always been a favorite of mine. Haven't watched in a really long time. I know it's shot on film. It will look fantastic on 4K. I want all of his films on 4K, but I decided to go from like the oldest ones first, since we got Reservoir, we got Pulp Fiction, and the rumor is that we're going to get one other one, which I'm going to talk about later. But yeah, definitely want to get my hands on Jackie Brown with Pam Grier, Sam Jackson, And Michael Keaton has a great role in that movie too, so it'd be really great to check that out. So the next one on my list, I added a Steven Spielberg. The Spielbergs were on my honorable mention list the last time. The Sugarland Express, as I was mentioning, is like his second theatrical release. Some people say it's his first theatrical release because it was made for theaters. Stars Goldie Hawn. I have a copy on Blu-ray, and to be quite honest with you, I really don't even remember the film. I was going to watch it again one day. I remember liking it, but I decided if I'm going to be going for any Spielbergs, I want to get the oldest ones first because those are the ones most likely. I believe he mostly shoots on film too, but I have to check some of his later releases to see if they have 2K digital intermediates. I checked his filmography the other day. He still has about 15 films that haven't made 4K yet. So he's had a lot come out in the past couple years, but there's about 15 left. So I decided to pick one of his earlier ones because I know that's going to be a movie shot on film. So Sugarland Express is going to be number 8. So number 7 is going to be Gone in 60 Seconds, starring Nicolas Cage. That film is another one that's owned by Disney. I don't know if or when it'll ever get a release on 4K, but Disney has been stepping up their game when it comes to 4K releases. I mean, they're doing all the James Cameron films. You know, whoever thought that was going to happen or when it was going to happen. So there's a possibility you might get Gone in 60 Seconds. So Gone in 60 Seconds is still on my list. It's number 7. Number 6 is another film that was 20th Century Fox and now it's owned by Disney. It's going to be Big Trouble in Little China, one of my favorite films when I was a kid. Hopefully, we have a Shout Blu-ray release of that, a Scream Factory release, which I have a steelbook of it, and I have the regular Blu-ray. But it would be really, really great if they were able to get the rights and be able to give us a 4K. The one thing I really love about the Scream Factory and the Shout Factory releases, for the most part, is they've been giving us really nice slip covers with the original poster art. We didn't get the original poster art for Big Trouble in Little China, but it'd be fantastic to get that for the 4K release. So let's cross our fingers and hope that they can work out a deal and get that one in 4K. It's a John Carpenter classic starring Kurt Russell. Hopefully they can go ahead and get that from Disney, the permission to go ahead and release that in 4K, because I think it would look fantastic. Number 5, this is on my list from 2022. It's going to be The Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes, the first 5 original films that were released by 20th Century Fox, they were all shot on film. That would be fantastic to have those in 4K. The Blu-rays were released like years and years ago. They look okay for what they are, but I'm sure they can make some huge improvements with a 4K remaster. So those are definitely ones, and I'm putting them all together just because last few years they've always, for the most part, been released as a set because they're not all great. So they usually sell better together as a set. So I'm going to put that all in one category. I love the first movie. The second movie is but I do have a little bit of love for it just because of the fact that it does have Charlton Heston in it, even though he's got a small role in it. And the third one is probably my second favorite. The third one is actually really, really entertaining. But let's go on to number 4. Number 4 is one that for some reason didn't make my list in 2022, and it should have. The Rocky films. Now, there's only 2 left that need to be released, Rocky 5 and Rocky 6. Rocky 5 is not my favorite, but it would be nice to just go ahead and have them all in 4K. So my biggest thing, there's a strong chance we're getting these, because I heard a rumor that Stallone is actually working on these, and the reason we didn't get them earlier this year is because he's doing director's cuts for 5 and 6. He wants to change them around a bit. I had mixed feelings about the director's cut for 4. I didn't hate the director's cut. It's just I'm so used to the theatrical cut. If I'm going to watch it, that's the one I'm going to watch. But it's very interesting that the changes that he decided to make. But for me, I'm cool with the theatrical edition. So I'm sure if he does change those films, he'll do the same thing to where if you like the original, you still have the original. If you want to watch the new version, you have the new version. So, and for my third one on the list, we're going to go with James Bond again. It's been 2 years, and we still don't have any of the Sean Connery James Bond films. We don't have any of the Roger Moores, and we don't have, we don't have any of those. I was thinking about the Steelbooks, because they did something really weird with the Steelbooks. It's like, they did some of them on Blu-ray Steelbook, and then they went for years. And then around a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, they just started releasing them on Blu-ray Steelbook again. And I wasn't going to pick them up, and I ended up picking them up anyway. I don't remember if I ever made a video about it, because I think the plan was to make a video and go over all of them. If not, I'll go over that. But I I was remembering, like, well, some of them are out. I'm like, no. The only ones that you can get on 4K are going to be the Daniel Craig's. Any of the original James Bond films are still only Blu-ray only. So those are the ones that are definitely shot on film. They would look amazing. I know James Bond was bought out by Amazon, so I don't know if they're just reserving those 4K transfers for Amazon Prime. I do know that a lot of them have 4K masters on streaming and on digital, but I don't think they're real 4Ks because none of them have HDR encoding. So I haven't wanted to buy any of those, except for the Daniel Craig's. I have those, but I haven't wanted to buy any of those digitally if they're just upscales of the Blu-rays. So I don't know. And as I mentioned in my other video, the GoldenEye is one of my favorite James Bond films. The Blu-ray is absolutely terrible. The whole film needs to be scanned again, because I know they did 4K scans of a lot of the James Bond films years ago, but they didn't do them all. It was mostly all the Sean Connerys and I think all the Roger Moores. But then some of the Timothy Daltons they didn't do, and they didn't do any of the Pierce Brosnan. So that'd be fantastic to get those in 4K. So we're down to number 2 and number 1. So number 2, I think, was pretty high on my list the last time, but it moved up now that we're getting all these James Cameron films out. Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair. It would be fantastic to finally get that on a 4K. There's rumors that we're getting regular Kill Bill 1 and Part 1 and Part 2 in next year in 2024, but it's not official yet, so it's going to go on my list. I have a feeling what they're going to do is they're going to release 1 and 2 separately and then later do The Whole Bloody Affair, because, like, why not? Like, you might as well get that money now while you can. But for now, I want The Whole Bloody Affair. That's on my list. I'll buy 1, I'll buy 2, but I just want to see it. Apparently there's only been a small percentage of people that have ever seen The Whole Bloody Affair because it's only played in theaters a handful of times. So it'd be fantastic to finally see that whole version of Kill Bill the way it was supposed to be. So I think it's pretty obvious what my number 1 pick is going to be. It's probably going to be my number 1 pick every year until they actually do it, if they ever do it. It's going to be the original Star Wars trilogy. And it's going to be without any enhanced digital effects. The original versions we got in 1977, 1980, and 1983. Now, I do know that there are some digital versions out there for these films. To clarify, they're called 4K 77, 4K 80, and 4K 83. I've seen 4K 77 and I've seen 4K 83. I haven't seen 4K 80 because I've heard that it's a beta test anyway, and it's not really 4K. If you guys aren't familiar with what these projects are, Disney and Fox have taken so long to not release these original versions because of the advice of George Lucas. Fans have decided to go ahead and find original prints from old movie theaters and digitally scan them and create their own 4K versions. They look like you're watching old film prints, which actually is kind of cool. I haven't watched them in a while. It's cool that they put all that work and time into it. But it would be nice to have official release. When it comes to Empire Strikes Back 4K 80, apparently that one's only available in HD, not 4K. And to be honest with you, when it comes to all the special editions, I don't mind the Empire Special Edition. It's been out for over 20 years, and they really didn't change all that much. It's mostly the original Star Wars film and Return of the Jedi that they made dramatic changes to, which I was never crazy about. So that goes over my top 10 wish list for 2024. This video's gone on long enough. I want to thank you all for watching and subscribing. If you like my videos, please like, comment, subscribe. Helps the channel so much. If you want to subscribe to my IG, Instagram, I appreciate that. Trying to build that back up from where it was a couple years ago. So thank you all for watching, and you'll have a pleasant day. Bye.